No, you can't. Let's.
Recording in progress.
All right, this is the Personnel Committee meeting for the City of Green Bay on November 4th. Roll call, Alder Johnson.
Here.
Alder Hinkfist.
Here.
Alder Grant.
Here.
Everyone's accounted for. I'll entertain a motion on the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And entertain a motion on the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, regular business, item 1, for consideration with possible action on health, dental, vision, life, and disability benefits starting January 1 of 2026. Staff.
Sure, I'll give a quick overview, then we also have back here from M3 that can provide additional or provide some details. So we partnered with M3 and the plan that we are proposing today was validated or was evaluated by both by HR, Finance, and our Benefits Advisory Committee. We really prioritize high quality health care while promoting consumerism. Pushed for some competitive offerings such as Vision, so we went to market for Vision. We are proposing design changes and additional program offerings. And what I mean by additional program offerings based on feedback from our employees, we're adding 2 voluntary benefit offerings in identity theft insurance and pet insurance. And we'll go over that a little bit later in this little presentation. So our proposal is to remain self-insured with funding levels. We looked at benchmark both in the area and Brown County, and that's running at about 9 to 11%. If we were to follow that trend, or if we were following that trend, that would add about $765,000 to the levy. With some adjustments that we are able to make with fixed costs and with some design changes, we are able to lower that by $700,000. So what those plan designs are for the high deductible health plan and Surest, we are recommending 0 changes. For our PPO plan, we're recommending some copay design changes, which Beck will cover here in a little bit. As far as it relates to premiums, we are not recommending any change to the employee or the employer ratio of 85 to 15, 80 to 20 that current plan covers. For our active employees, we're recommending a 1% increase to premiums. And for retirees, we're recommending a 10% increase to premiums. Within the family savings plan, we were able to find some savings when we renegotiated mid-contract the shared savings fee. So we were able to get that down an additional 5%. Looking at dental, both
Or a savings of?
That's
a big number.
Very good question. So it's probably in the
100,000.
ballpark of $50,000 to $75,000.
But, okay.
5% of the, I think it's like 600,000. It was a good win to get that mid-contract with next fall in 26 being up for discussion again. With both dental plans, so we have a fully or self-insured and a fully insured plan. Both of those were recommending a 3% increase to premiums. And one of the items I mentioned earlier with our vision plan, we took that to market to try to find either a more competitive, costly plan and one that took care of our employees. And we were able to stay with our current vision provider with a 9% decrease in premiums and a 4-year rate lock on those premiums. One of the additional offerings that we're adding to our benefits offerings is short-term disability. And what short-term disability does is it covers 60% of wages up to $1,000 for up to basically 90 days, where then a long-term disability plan would kick in if employees need to go past the short-term disability limits. With adding short-term disability, it allows our voluntary life insurance to be increased, each individual increased up to $300,000 without any medical verification. And that, we're being told, doesn't happen very often, but with that added short-term disability, our employees are able to up that voluntary life insurance, which is a good deal. As I mentioned, new offerings, short-term disability, just went over that, identity theft and pet insurance. With pet insurance and identity theft, you can experience a discounted rate versus just going straight to the provider. And specifically with identity theft, it's up to 20% off on their monthly premiums. So our recommendation to committee is to continue our self-funded program with UMR. Have a couple design changes with the co-pays within the PPO plan. Increase premiums 1% for active and 10% for retirees. Continue with the family savings plan. Increase dental premiums by 3%. Decrease vision premiums by 9%. Have additional offerings of short-term disability, identity theft, and pet insurance, and then continue all other benefits. And with that, I'd like to go into a little bit of the details of the plans, and we have Beck here that can help us out with that. So, yeah, if you don't mind coming up. Thank you. So Beck is from M3 and works with us extensively through our benefits.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm happy to take any questions, but I can also walk through the materials that are included in your packet if that's helpful.
Sure.
So the additional materials that are included, the first page is a summary of our funding forecast. We tried to give you, a summarized picture of the work that happens throughout the renewal planning cycle to give you, again, a picture of how we forecast for your self-funded health plan. So the top portion looks at trend assumptions. So we plan for a 7.5% increase to medical costs and a 10.6% increase to prescription drug costs based on what we're seeing happening here in Northeast Wisconsin. And then blend that trend based on what's happening within your specific plan. So your trend increase based on your utilization is an 8.4% increase. Then we apply that trend to your claims experience over the past 2-year periods to achieve your variable costs or your expected claims costs over the next year. So we take your current member count times the expected claims to get that projected medical and prescription claims cost. So we're projecting that you'll have about just under $10.4 million of medical claims costs over the next year. Then we've summarized your fixed costs for you into 5 or 6 different categories. So we have medical administrative claims costs, the pharmacy rebates and contract updates, which actually come as savings to the plan. Then we have your stop loss and transplant coverage to protect the plan from high cost claims, and then also the fully insured transplant coverage. The cost of our wellness program, and then we also infuse savings from the family savings plan back into the health fund in order to keep premiums low. So the combination of our variable costs and our fixed costs brings us to our projected overall plan expenditures. And you see the comparison between the projected plan expenditures and the projected funding if we were to leave the rates the same. That leaves us just a bit of a gap. Then we've shown the calculation of the overall funding rate increase as compared to the active funding rate projection, and then that of retirees. On the next couple pages of the packet, then you see the plan design recommended for actives. This is where we model the impact of the alternate for the copay plan. So by adding in the specialist visit copay that Brian mentioned, as well as the emergency room visit copay increase, and the changes to the prescription drug plan, with the copays for the emergency room and the prescription drugs being the same as what they are on the Surest plan, that brings our overall increase on the active plan down to that 1% that is recommended this evening. The retiree plan designs shown are on the next couple of pages of the packet, with the monthly rates indicated on that page reflecting the 10% increase that's recommended. The recommendation coming to you does not cover the full impact of the utilization, but acknowledging the small number of folks that are on the retiree plan, the recommended increase is the 10%. Then the remainder of the materials that are included in your packet this evening are additional information about the voluntary products that are being added this year. So the voluntary short-term disability, like Brian said, provides income protection for folks who choose that plan. Also provides protection during the period that is not currently covered, where right now employees do have the option to purchase voluntary long-term disability coverage. This gives them the ability to offer the short-term disability, or to elect the short-term disability. It also, like Brian mentioned, gives them the opportunity to have a true open enrollment for the voluntary life insurance, which really doesn't come along very often. Generally, we have to change carriers in order to have that opportunity for an additional life enrollment without having to complete the evidence of insurability. So it's a nice opportunity for employees who may not have elected coverage in the past, or might not have elected as much coverage as they may have liked to. Then the other information included is the information on identity theft, which offers some really nice benefits for extended family. Child watch protection is really a nice, valuable benefit. And then also senior credit recovery, and the ability to cover other members of your household who are living with you but might not be immediate family members that aren't traditionally able to be covered under other employee benefit plans. And then the final opportunity is pet insurance. So this allows members the opportunity to access coverage for their dogs and cats. This enrollment is completely outside of the payroll process. So people who elect this coverage don't have to worry about payroll deduction. It's not adding additional work for staff here. But does allow a valuable benefit for folks who are looking to cover those other type of extended family members in covering their pets. So happy to take any questions that you might have.
Do you have the plan designs in here?
They are. So the plan designs
Like what?
are, they were just behind the funding forecast. Let me skip back there, I can tell you. The active plans are found on page 12 of your committee packet. And then the retiree plans are on 13 and 14.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
Oops, sorry.
Deductible.
The
Okay.
one of these two, here, sorry.
Do we? I don't move that down. It's full, that's the full premium. And then they pay a percentage of it. Yeah. What has been the feedback on the pharmacy benefit, the changes with the co-pays? Because you guys are doing open enrollment right now.
The proposed changes?
Yes, the proposed changes.
From my level, I haven't heard any feedback. Good or bad.
So during open enrollment meetings, we heard very little feedback regarding the pharmacy changes. We were very open about the changes to the PPO plan. We also shared, that Canna RX is available on all 3 of the plans, and shared additional, contact information. Also reminded them that there is a communication campaign that's arriving at their home addresses from Canna RX as well. So sharing alternative resources with members additionally. But from both members who are on the Surest plan, as well as during open enrollment, we've heard essentially no feedback regarding the pharmacy changes.
And I did meet with Brian and M3 when they came in, and a 1% is fabulous. But the biggest changes that concerned me were the pharmacy copays, because they've really gone up. However, the max out of pocket has stayed the same. And whether it's in plan or out of plan, it's X amount of dollars out of pocket for the employee. It's just the way they pay that out is kind of changing.
And to talk a little bit more about Canna RX, we took on a targeted campaign this fall to try to raise utilization of this free prescription program that we have available, and we'll continue to do that throughout 2026 in hopes to get our spend even less than what we're forecasting.
Alder Hinkfist, you also asked about the impact of the change to the shared savings fee.
Yes.
I was able
Thank
to
you.
pull that up quick while we were talking. Using a quarter of 2025 to estimate the impact for 2026, it's about $40,000 per quarter.
So, yeah,
So
I figured
estimated
it was over
$160,000.
100,000, because that's something I really want to look at next year. We don't have the ability because of contracts, but that's a 5% savings, 5%. And we're paying what, 25 or 15 now? So 20. So on a 5%, that's 107,000. So give Brian a lot of credit, team a lot of credit, but that'll be something that we definitely want to look at next year.
That's something they've been working through, we've been working through for years, and we brought that down quite a bit from 30, 35 initially down to 20.
Yeah, and you can argue whether it's savings or not. Just funny numbers. So,
Any other questions?
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I entertain a motion to open the floor for interested parties to speak.
Motion on the floor?
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone that would like to speak on this item, you can approach the podium. We just need your name and address and your thoughts. Nobody?
Motion to close the floor.
second,
All right, all those in favor say aye.
third.
Wait.
Oh,
Mark?
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 You teasing us, or?
Didn't want to have to be the first or the only one.
Withdraw your motion.
Mark Berglund, 806 North Broadway. I'm on the PPO co-play plan. You know, I've got some health issues in my household where we need to stay on that. And looking back, I'm sure you're all aware that our contribution got raised 5% last year, so we're paying more. This year, there's also some changes to the PPO plan that may have not been mentioned here tonight. And one of those is, I believe, and I got this from the open enrollment meetings. Purveya had a blue managed healthcare card. If you had that healthcare card, it entitled you to some copay discounts when you would show that card at various doctors or at urgent care. That's now gone. The other thing is they have now limited the urgent care, at least partially. There's still urgent cares around town, but to get a copay break on an urgent care visit, they only give you two options. One is in Ashwaubenon, one is in Appleton, I believe. And I've used urgent care, you know, in a pinch, in the evening, weekends, you don't want to go to the emergency. Unfortunately, I've had to go to the emergency last year. My wife cut her finger on a Sunday night, had to need stitches, $400, boom, just like that. And now that is $850. But the other thing I see with this urgent care is they only have one facility in Green Bay that you can use at a reduced copay, and they stated that that is on Cormier at Holmgren Way. So I was in that part of town the other night, and I thought, well, I'll go see where that is because I'm a user of urgent care, and I go there, that branch is closed. Closed, they've got a sign in there, closed. They've moved somewhere. So within a couple of days of the open enrollment meeting, them telling us this is gonna be your urgent care where you can get a reduced copay, 2 days later I go there, place is closed. So I don't know if they're going to be reopening that branch or whatever, but you know, it's all of a sudden, last year we have to contribute 5% more. This year the premium's going up 1%, I understand that. but it just seems like we are getting less and less on the PPO plan. And, you know, as you know, last year I went through this and I said I felt like they are trying to move us off of the PPO plan because other plans are more affordable for the city, and I get that. It doesn't work for a lot of people. It doesn't work for my household. And it just seems like they are trying to wean you off of that, you know. And then I guess one other question I've got, I don't know, this isn't exactly the forum to ask questions, but I just realized this, on this M3 page right here, right across the top, it says recommended alternate PPO copay plan with a 1% increase. Now, is that a recommendation from M3 as to the 3 plans? Is that what they are recommending? It's right on their page. I just realized that tonight. I don't know if that's, you know, what they're recommending or what the deal is there, but I just,
If I'm reading this right,
Big ones.
it's the first column there, right, has alternate PPO copay
Yep.
plan. So I don't know if that's meant to identify that that's the one they're recommending.
because the 1% increase, what I understand, is across the board between all 3 plans, and not just the PPO plan.
Yeah, we'll have staff speak to that.
Sure, thank you. I just, you know, I just feel bad that the PPO people, and there's a lot of people at the park shop that have the PPO plan, their costs keep on going up as everything else, but the services keep on going down, you know, and that's my concern, you know, and I understand that. I did take a little survey of my coworkers, and of all of the people that work at the park shop, only 2 people were on the Sheriff's plan. It's about 60 people, 2 people. At the open enrollment meeting, I asked how many people they said were on the Sheriff's plan citywide. They said 95. So, anyway, that's some information that I gleaned on myself. Thank you very much.
I guess I got a question, based on what he's saying is, why would we, okay, we wanted people not to go to the ER. We wanted people to go to urgent care. So why would we restrict them to one urgent care site throughout the city of Green Bay?
Within the Prevea Partner Health?
Yes.
Okay, so Prevea made the decision to eliminate their program that they have right now. In its place, they've offered 2 locations that they're opening up for employer-sponsored care in place of all of the other locations that they used to offer. As I said, they ended that program completely. The city had nothing to do with that. It was Prevea's decision. We were an early adopter into their new program that starts on January 1st of 2026, which is 2 locations, one at the Fox Commons location, and then Fox Commons is in Appleton. At Cormier Road in Ashwaubenon is the second location. Now, we were early adopters into that. That doesn't open up until January 1st. So it is empty right now. However, on January 1st, they plan on having that open and staffed and ready to serve limited employers, with us being one of them.
Okay. Another question I have is,
Yes.
what,
Can
yes,
have Becca add?
I also want to note that the Bellin Near Site program did not go away. So members on the Sheriff's plan and the PPO plan continue to have access to the primary care visits at no cost with Bellin, urgent cares at all of their sites at no cost, and all of the fast care locations at no cost through Bellin. So while Prevea changed their program, Bellin did not change their program. So again, those weren't city decisions, but all of the Bellin locations are still available for the folks on the PPO plan.
And for those locations, they have the same system, so being part of Prevea doesn't stop you from going to see a Bellin location as the systems communicate to each other.
and then why are retirees going up 10%?
Retirees' utilization is much, much, much higher than that of the active population. And in fact, I think it's a recommended 40%, or not recommended 40%, but a realized 40% increase. And we only wanted to bring that up to 10%.
Does it, if I remember correctly, doesn't retirees go up more every time we go through this?
I can't
I
speak.
can speak to that. That was a 10-year plan, which ended probably about 7 years ago. There was a time that the retirees were paying active rates and the contributions. So there was a 10-year plan of phasing that out, and that has been done for about 5+ years. So there's, the goal was for them to be paying the actual costs. And so at this point, we've now fallen behind. So at this point now, we're running hot compared to budget, where the retirees are negative of what the 2025 budget was. And so as the director was just saying that, the recommendation based on actuals would be 34%.
How many retirees are taking advantage of the city's insurance?
Less than 10.
Less than 10?
Yes.
Percent.
I can understand why.
Less than 10.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Could you speak to the inquiry that Mark had about the recommended?
Yeah, so the form that you see here that has M3 on the top is the city's recommended increase, changes to the PPO plan with a 1% increase. And he is correct that it is a 1% increase across all 3 plans.
There's overall, we have opportunity, but it's gonna take some time as contracts change. And the one thing that I would say, and we definitely want to hear from more people, but the one piece that was solid in here is what the max out-of-pocket was gonna be. And that's what I was talking about, is where and when you're gonna pay it. Because you're gonna pay more at the emergency room, but now you just paid 3/4 of your, or a third of your total out-of-pocket. So whether you're in plan or out of plan for the city, which is a really good benefit, your total out-of-pocket is the same, which is highly unusual in industry. Normally, there's a separate out-of-pocket, which is usually $2,500, so out of $5,000, it's $7,500 out-of-pocket. And the city also applies their drug copays to the out-of-pocket, which is very unusual. So I think, these guys did a good job. They changed the way the money's being put out, but ultimately, the out-of-pocket stayed the same.
Before we go any further, I think the floor is still open.
Okay.
I just want to make sure, does anyone else want to speak to this item?
Joel Vadatestein, 2860 Castle Hill Lane. So I had one question, I guess, about the short-term disability. So I know there's several people in the shop that work at the West Side, DPW. So it only covers the 60%. So I guess a lot of us are wondering, why can't we use our sick time to cover the extra?
Can you answer that, Beck?
So we evaluated several different plan designs, and the rates on the plan designs that allowed you to supplement the remainder of your income between the 60% short-term disability coverage and the 100% of your pre-disability earnings were simply, they were high. And the benefits committee felt like we would be challenged to get the 25% participation that is needed in order to be able to offer the voluntary plan if we were to select that plan design. So the recommendation from the Benefits Advisory Committee was to offer the plan that allowed employees the option to either use their sick time if they chose to, or to hold their sick time, not being required to use their sick time before being eligible to go out on short-term disability leave, so that if they wanted to retain their sick time either for future use or to have that available for payout later, that was the premium that the Benefits Committee thought was both advantageous, but also the plan design that they felt employees would be most interested in.
And previous to, as you know, previous to adding the short-term disability plan, we had a long-term plan that either started at 90 days or 180 days. And one of the points of feedback that we received was that there's zero protection for new employees from day 0 to day 90 or 180 if they chose long-term disability, as it takes a long time for a new employee to get so much sick leave to cover them for those first 90 days. So we thought it was important to offer some level of protection for new hires or for people with scenarios where they just don't have enough sick.
Sure, I guess where I was coming from is, as everybody knows, the cost of health costs is going up. So if I'm only gonna take 60% of my check, I still have a lot of other expenses to cover. And it would be kinda nice if I could use some of my sick time to shore that up. I know some people who work in the private sector, that they're all allowed to do that. And I guess I don't know what the cost difference is between that.
I think the other piece that's important to note is that the 60% is not taxable. So the benefit that you receive while you're on short-term disability is not taxed. So if you
Okay.
think about what your income is while you're not disabled, that income is taxed. The payment that you receive when you're out on disability is not taxed. So 60% of a non-taxable benefit versus the pre-disability
Okay.
income that has to be taxed.
Sure.
Depending on your tax bracket, of course, you may find that it's closer than you would think.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. I guess it would be nice if there was a little more clarity on that, I suppose, because there was a lot of people that thought the same thing after walking out of the meeting, you know?
We would love to answer those questions on the benefit hotline. If you've got other folks that are curious
Sure.
about it, they're welcome to call.
Okay.
We'll take them.
Right, thank you.
But thank you, because they're good questions for us to hear too. Now, I wrote down question taxes when you brought it up.
Anyone else? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion closed?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. More questions for staff or discussion?
Brent, I don't want to be like overly reductive with this question, but if open enrollment's already happening, this kind of feels like a foregone conclusion. And what do we need to do to maybe next year actually have this come to us before open enrollment starts? Because I don't know how, as a council right now, we could even change this.
I think in years past, this has been a similar situation where the benefit offerings during open enrollment were dependent upon approval by committee and
kind of a
council. I
conditional
can't speak to
asterisk, yeah.
which years that may have been the case, but it has. What we can do though is back everything up. We were waiting for a stop loss renewal as well, and that hinges a lot of prices right there as well. So what we can do is try to back up our processes that we control and push those that others control, such as the stop loss
Okay.
renewal.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what we have in front of us, you know, obviously a couple of questions there, but it seems like it's in alignment with what we would want to see. You know, I'm just thinking about future years, right, where you might have more of a controversial recommendation. And I mean, we saw that a little bit, I think, last year, and I think we worked really hard to try to, you know, fill some of those gaps with some really excellent feedback that we had from our staff about ways to improve that. I think, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, doesn't really matter, you know, but last year was an example where I think we were able to kind of tighten things up, and I feel like we're maybe don't have that option this year.
Yeah, and if we had to make any changes, we could make it.
You could, okay.
It would just be an extension of
Yeah, and I'm not sure what that change would be right now, but, okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'll work to, and the areas that we can specifically control and influence, we'll do our best next year as well.
Great, thank you.
All right, any other comments?
You're the HR expert.
I think these guys, based on what we can do this year, did a great job. I mean, a 1% increase for the city overall is pretty good in this day and age. And still, I mean, yes, we're moving money around and how we bring it out, but ultimately, it's the same amount of money out of pocket. The Surest plan, there are a lot of people on it, and Mark, I appreciate what you had said, but there are the discounts and things that we have with Prevea and Bellin, so their immediate needs, there's copays don't apply. I mean, there's a whole bunch of rules, and the benefits overall are really good. If you compare them to the state benefit and you compare this benefit, we're doing very well. I'm on the state, so. This is really good. They did a nice job.
Uh,
So I would recommend approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
You know, just a reminder too, for those following this issue, Mark, you're here all the time, so you know this, but this is, the committee makes a recommendation, it goes to the full council next week, so
Yep.
if anybody here has, you know, additional feedback on the plan before the final vote's taken, you know, every member of council would be accessible for your call.
All right, item number 2, for consideration with possible action on the request to reclassify the vacant Public Works Utility Manager position to an Assistant Public Works Director. Staff?
Yeah, so you'll see, and Valerie jump in with any additional details, you'll see that the role itself over the years has evolved, leading more people, more projects, and furthermore, we sent this off to our consultant to have them do an evaluation, and they came back with a recommendation of changing the title to be an Assistant Public Works Director for Utilities and a 1-grade bump. And Director, if you want to provide any context related to the change in duties over the year, I think you'd be a perfect one to talk to them.
Yeah, it's just, I think this position was created a number of years ago, and over time it evolved. You know, we've added positions, we've added responsibilities. We picked up the sustainability work and additional projects that are grant funded, which is quite a bit of activity. Just some of the challenges with the program that we're working through, you know, with the infiltration and inflow and how that can affect the city's rates. That has evolved over time. And then just the complexity of the position, I think, as a whole. This position is kind of unique because there's the rate setting and the budget. It has 2 really large operating budgets, but as well there's multiple capital budgets that this position manages. And then they're involved in the rate setting, and then also like the invoicing side of it for our industrial monitored customers, as well as coordination with Green Bay Water Utility, who does our billing for us. So there's that complexity mixed in with the engineering and the compliance, meeting the state's requirements for our sanitary and stormwater permits, as well as just the technical part of the overall planning of the system and planning the repairs. And it's somewhat comparable to Green Bay Water Utility, who has their own general manager and various different, you know, operations directors. But the difference is that the stormwater and sanitary sewer utility is embedded within DPW. So that's a little bit different. But other than that, a lot of the work is similar to Green Bay Water Utility.
We've also had this posted out on several job sites for almost 5 months as the utility manager. Overall, within those 5 months, we got 20 applicants, where 2 of them were moved forward for the on-site interview process. We did have an offer out to 1, and due to salary, they turned it down.
So when I look at the listing, I mean, the oversight, I mean, this is a third, I think, of the city's overall budget. You know, obviously a lot of positions. I don't have any problem with the reclass. If anything, I would just question, you know, by upgrading that step, or excuse me, by the grade, is that going to be enough to attract the qualified candidate that you're looking for?
Grade and or title matter to each person a little bit differently. So the title might draw some further applicants in for a career progressional standpoint. The money's the money. I think if we're looking to, I'd say that it might be a challenge with a good majority of the applicants that we're going to get anyways to even get them within this range. But what it does do is opens the door for those candidates that want a little bit of a jump in pay and or title.
And I was just observing as a percentage, it didn't seem like the the grade jump was particularly significant, and if you're already having a problem getting the applicants, let alone closing, right, the offer, I don't want you to continue to be in the same boat, and I just don't know what tools, if any, you have available to you, that when you're doing a negotiation, other than the range, of course, that's here, but.
Yeah, I have the ability to work within the range.
Right.
There's a rather large window there.
Okay.
Even with the ability to work within the range, we weren't able to meet the last candidate. But I think we're somewhat close on that one. Would this range have brought that candidate in? Maybe not, but it would have gotten us closer.
No, I appreciate the point about the title, and I can certainly see your point there, and I'm sure Valerie's underwater, no pun intended, doing two jobs here, but it'd be really wonderful to see this thing filled sooner rather than later.
Oh yeah, we're doing our best that we can.
Okay.
And this would make it much, much easier, I believe.
I would move to approve unless there's questions. Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Informational, report of routine personal actions. Next meeting is December 9th, 2025. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we stand adjourned.
Stopped.